Hello my dear students, I welcome all of you to my second session on Constructor and Destructor chapter. My dear students, this is going to be a very important session for all of you because you will have a lot of offers in today's session. What is that offer, sir? Yes, let's start. My dear students, I have two offers for all of you. Sir, you will be amazed to hear these offers. My dear students, I have one program. So what is that I have? I have one program. If you learn one program, you will get 4 concepts free. What is the offer you have? If you just learn only one program in this chapter, so you will get 4 concepts free, my dear students. Again, I have one more concept. If you just learn one program, you will get one concept. So how many topics that I am going to understand today, my dear students? The first one, that is default constructor. What is default constructor and what is parameterized constructor and what is copy constructor? These 3 topics comes under the concept of types of constructors. And after that you have constructor overloading and destructors. So these are all the topics that you have. So in total 5 topics, my dear students. I'm just covering all these topics in just 2 programs. If you understand 2 programs, all these 5 concepts will be in your pocket. That is what you need to remember. This is more than half a chapter, my dear students. You are just learning half of the chapter in just 2 programs. That is what you need to understand. Don't miss this session. Watch completely. Suppose if you have not watched the first session of this chapter, please go back and check and then you watch this session. Moving on to the first concept that I have. So my dear students, I am just taking this program to explain 4 concepts. I will repeat, I am taking this program to explain 4 concepts. Number 1, I will explain what is default constructor. So my dear students, please make a note of it. I will explain what is default constructor. So then after that, what is the second concept that I will explain? I will explain what is parameterized constructor. So what is the second concept that I will explain in this program? What is parameterized constructor? What is the third one that I have? My dear students, we have already studied this. So that is constructor overloading. Sir, we have not studied constructor overloading. Yes or no? Yes, we have studied the concept of overloading in the function overloading chapter. But we are discussing constructor overloading here. Okay, what is the fourth concept? My dear students, the last concept of this program, that is destructor. The last concept of this program is destructor. So if you learn this program, you will get 4 concepts. If they ask anything with respect to default constructor, write the same program. If they ask anything about parameterized constructor, write the same program. If they ask anything about constructor overloading, write the same program. If they ask anything about destructor, you can use the same program. That is what I would like to tell you. Now, let's start the tracing of this program. Let us understand these concepts. So guys, you already know that we have the header file. Let me not say much about it. So this is the header file that I have. Let me start from here. What is the keyword that I have? My dear students, the keyword that I have is class. So why should I use the keyword called class? To create any class, I have to use the keyword. Can you tell me what is the name of the class? Yes, my dear students, the name of the class is simple interest. Remember, the name of the class is simple interest. So after that, so how many access specifier that I have? My dear students, you need to observe, I have private and I have public here. How many access specifier that I have? I have private and I have public here. So inside private, my dear students, you need to understand PRTSI. So what is this PRTSI, sir? I'm just trying to calculate the simple interest, my dear students. What is the formula for simple interest? So it is PTR by 100. That is what you need to remember, PTR by 100. So that is the reason I'm taking these variables. That is the reason I'm taking this variables. I will tell you why. So why are you using floats or why are you not using int? So my dear students, if you perform any division operations, you have the chances of getting the floating point number. You have the chances of getting the floating point number. Suppose if I use int, so there is a chance of losing out some of the data, so your result will not be accurate. So that is the reason. So whenever you are performing some division operation, it is suggested to use float so that you will get or you will be able to store the accurate result. That is the reason I am taking float. If you ask me, sir, then if I give the int, will it be wrong? No, it is not wrong. Still you can use integer, but you will not get the accurate answer. You will not get the accurate answer. So that is the reason I am using float. So that is the first point that you should remember with respect to this line. Moving on to the next one, I have the next access specifier as public. So now I will come back to the previous class, whatever I have done. My dear students, I have done the concept of constructors in the previous class. So what is constructor? My dear students, I want to initialize the values of the variables automatically whenever the object is created. I will repeat. Whenever the object is created, automatically the value of the variable should get initialized. So before this statement, before this definition, I also told you some story. What is the story? So as a human being, I used to forget a lot of things. So my dear students, even I forget sometimes to assign the values to the variables. Suppose if I don't assign the values to the variables, what happens? So my dear students, the values, the variables, whatever I have, so that variables will have some garbage values. Variable whatever I have, so this variable will have some garbage values. So if I perform some of the calculations with this garbage values, what happens? My dear students, I will end up in getting the garbage result. I will end up in getting the garbage result. To solve this problem, I have the concept called constructors. I have the concept called constructors. Constructors will help me to initialize the values of the variable automatically whenever I create the objects. So that is the reason that I am using the constructor. That is a recap of the previous class. So let's start. I have to create a constructor now. So what is the first rule that I should remember? My dear students, I will call this as a constructor. So when do you call this as a constructor? Point number one that you should remember, which I have discussed in the previous class, the name of this function should be same as class name. The name of this function should be same as class name. Point number one, that is what you need to remember. Yes, is it satisfying your rule? Yes, it is satisfying. The second point with respect to this constructor, so what is that? You should declare or you should define inside the public access specifier. So do I have this constructor inside this public? Yes, I have. So is it correct then? Yes, it is correct. What is the third point that I should remember, sir? So do I have any return type? No, I don't have any return type. So my dear students, I don't have any return type. So then can I call this as a constructor? Yes, you can call this as a constructor. Suppose if you don't have anything inside this parenthesis, this I will call it as a default constructor. My dear students, what is this? This constructor I will call it as a default constructor. My dear students, you are just writing the name of the constructor and you don't have any parameters inside this parenthesis, so I will call it as a default constructor. Topic number one. So you are done with the first concept. You are done with the first concept. You learned how to write the default constructor. Yes or no? You're not just writing any parameters inside this. You're just writing the name of the constructor. If you want anything to initialize, you can just write it. I have not written anything. So if you write this much, this is an example for default constructor. Let me go to the second concept. My dear students, here what is the name of the function that I have? Can I call this as a constructor? Yes, I can call. So am I satisfying the 3 rules, 3 points, whatever I said? Yes. So name of the function is same as class name? Yes. So do I have return type? No, I don't have. Yes, it is correct. So then it is under the access specifier that is public? Yes, it is under the access specifier public. I can call it as a constructor. The name of the class is same as function name. Fine. So then, my dear students, you need to observe here, I have parameters. I have parameters. I'm passing the parameters. So I have the parameters. Then what type of constructor is this? So my dear students, then this is a parameterized constructor. If you pass any parameters inside this constructor, then you will call that as a parameterized constructor, my dear students. That is the second point you need to remember. What is the first one? So I have the default one. So what is the second one that I have? I have the second one as parameterized constructor. So what is that I'm doing? So I have PRT. So this is the variable that I've already created. I am initializing the value for P as X, whatever the value that I have in X. will be stored into P. Whatever the value that I have in Y will be stored to R. Whatever the value that I have in Z will be stored to, come on everybody, it will be stored to T. That is what you need to remember. I'm just assigning the values here. So what type of constructor is this? This is what I will call it as a parameterized constructor. So you understood two topics. Now I will discuss the third topic. My dear students, remember the definition that we have discussed with respect to function overloading. What is function overloading? My dear students, I have a class. What is that I have? I have a class. Inside this class, if I have more than one function with the same name, what is that I will call it as? I will call it as function overloading. What is that I will call it as? I will call it as a function overloading. My dear students, in the same way, if I have more than one constructor with the same name, then what do I call it as? I will call it as a constructor overloading, my dear students. If I have more than one constructor, in my class, then I will call it as a constructor overloading. Make sure that each type of constructor is different type of constructor, then only I will call it as a constructor overloading, my dear students. I will repeat, if my class contains more than one type of constructor, then that concept I will call it as a constructor overloading. So guys, can you identify how many types of constructor? Right now you can see, yes, more than one I have default constructor and I have parameterized constructor. Guys, this is what I will call it as a constructor overloading. This is what I will call it as a constructor overloading. So you got the three concepts. What is the first concept that you have? The first one is default constructor. What is the second one? You have the parameterized constructor, and the third one that you have is, my dear students, constructor overloading. You learned three concepts, my dear students. You learned how many concepts? Three concepts till here. So let's move on to the next point what I have in the program. So what is the function that I have? My dear students, void is a return type. Void is a return type. What is the meaning of void? So void in the sense it does not return any value. Void in the sense what? It does not return any value. So what is the name of the function? My dear students, compute SI. Compute SI in the sense, in short, I have given compute simple interest. So this function will help me to calculate the simple interest. That is the concept. So if I am using this function, if I call this function, my dear student, I will be able to calculate the simple interest. I'll be able to calculate the simple interest. I've already told you the formula to calculate the simple interest, PTR by 100. So that is what you need to remember. So if I call this function, what will happen? I will be performing I will be calculating the simple interest. So moving on to the next one. This is what you need to observe. Sir, if I am using the tilde symbol, hope you are able to see the symbol. If I am using the tilde symbol followed by the class name and parenthesis, my dear students, so this is what I will call it as a destructor. This is what I will call it as a destructor. So my dear students, whatever the memory that you have allocated with the help of constructor, so if I use this destructor, I will be deallocating that memory. I will be deallocating the memory. That is what you need to remember. If I use the tilde symbol in front of the constructor, that constructor will become the destructor. That constructor will become the destructor. That is what you need to understand. How many concepts you learned now? So my dear students, the first one is default constructor, second one is parameterized constructor, third one is constructor overloading, the fourth one is destructor. In one single program, you learned four concepts. If they ask any question, any topic out of this four, you will be able to write the same program for all the four concepts. My dear students, are you finding it easy? Yes. I will make it more simpler in the coming session for all of you. Yes. We'll move on to the next one. So my dear students, I have the void main. My execution of the program will start here, as I told you in the previous classes. What is the simple interest? My dear students, simple interest is a class name. So what is the class name? Simple interest. I have the simple interest here. So what is this? SI1. So SI1 is the first object that I am creating for this class. So SI2 is the second object that I am creating for this class. You need to observe, guys. So this object will initialize default constructor. This object will initialize default constructor. My dear students, you need to observe this. My dear students, SI2 as soon as I create this object. As soon as I create this object, my dear students, so the whatever the value that I have as arguments will be passed to here, and these variables will get initialized. So that is what you need to understand. So guys, this object whatever I have will initiate parameterized constructor, So using this object, that is SI2, I will call this function, I will call this compute SI. So if I call this function, it will print the simple interest value for whatever the values that I am passing. So that is what you need to understand. Hope you understood this program and you learned 4 concepts. My dear students, default in the sense you will not pass any parameters. So parameterized constructor in the sense you will pass the parameter. That is the second one you need to remember. Constructor overloading in the sense if you have more than one type of constructor in the class, then you will call that as a constructor overloading. Destructor in the sense you will use the tilde symbol. So that is what I will call it as a destructor. So 4 concepts in one program. Moving on to the next concept. Let us understand the concept of copy constructor, my dear students. It's very, very important that you need to understand the concept of copy constructor, and you can also ask me, sir, can you include this concept also in the previous program and you can make it one program 5 concept? Yes, you can do it. I am leaving the assignment for all of you to do that after this explanation. I have given you the clue here. I am using the parameterized constructor here. Okay. So instead of that, my dear students, you can make one program 5 concepts, more than half a chapter in one program. If I just learn one program, more than half a chapter is in your pocket. That is what you need to understand, my dear students. This is the way that I will be teaching in all the chapters. Please do follow me and understand. My dear students, let's start with the copy constructor. What is the name of the class? So my dear students, the name of the class is A. What is the name of the class? A is the name of the class, and I have the public access specifier. So inside the public access specifier, please observe I have a variable, so that is x. X is of type int. X is of type int. Then after that I have a constructor. I have a constructor. You should be able to identify what type of constructor that I have given here. So my dear students, please observe first whether it is a constructor or not. So to do that, what is that I have to check? Yes, the name of the constructor should be same as class name. Yes, it is correct. And it should be under the scope of public. Yes, it is correct. And I don't have the return type. Yes, it is correct. And then my dear students, what type of constructor is this? Do I have the parameter inside? Yes, I have. Then I should call that as a parameterized constructor. I should call it as a parameterized constructor. I am passing int A. A is my parameter. So what is that I am doing? So I am assigning the value whatever I have in the A to the X. That is what I am trying to perform in this parameterized constructor. Moving on to the next important part of this program. So my dear students, I have one more constructor. Sir, how do you say that this is a constructor? Yes, let's have a check. So is this name of the function the same as class name? Yes. Do I have return type? No, I don't have. Correct. Do I have inside the public access specifier? Yes, I have. So it is a constructor. What type of constructor is this? So that is what we need to check. Oh my God. So I don't have the data type, something like this. So what is this int? Int is a predefined data type. Please observe. Int is a predefined data type. Do I have int here? No, I have something called A. What is this A? My dear students, please remember this A is the name of the class. A is the name of the class. What is this? You are writing the class name inside the brackets. If you are getting confused, my dear students, remember 3 points with respect to this copy constructor. What is the 3 points, sir, that I should remember? Point number 1, whenever you are passing the parameter inside the constructor as an object, okay, then you should treat it as a copy constructor. I will repeat, whenever you are passing the object as a parameter, so you should treat it as a copy constructor. Point number 2, you will not pass the entire object. Instead of that, you will just pass the reference. If I use ampersand, what is that you will treat it as? You will treat this as a reference. You will treat this as a reference. I am not passing the entire object. Instead of that, I am passing the reference of that particular object. Point number 3, my dear students, why do I use copy constructor? To copy the values or the data from one object to another object, I will use the copy constructor. I will use the copy constructor. Point number 1. What is the first point that we have with respect to copy constructor? My dear students, you are passing the object as a parameter. The second one, you are just passing the reference of that object. You are just passing the reference of that object. Point number 3, you are using the copy constructor to copy the data from one object to another object. You are using the copy constructor. These 3 points are very, very important. Remember one more point with respect to the copy constructor. Copy constructors are not explicitly invoked. What is the meaning of it? Explicit in the sense you are not writing any code to invoke the copy constructor. Automatically the copy constructors are invoked. That is what you need to remember, my dear students. This is all with respect to the copy constructor. Let's move on to the main function, what we have. So you have to understand this. What is the meaning of this A? So my dear students, A in the sense name of the class, the small A1 in the sense I'm creating the object. I'm creating the object. In this object I'm passing 20. So which constructor will be invoked? My dear student, parameterized constructor will be invoked. So you need to observe here, my dear students, I'm creating one more object as A2 for the same class A. What is the next object that I'm creating? I'm creating A2. So guys, A1, whatever the value that I have, A1 is an object. I'm copying the content of A1 to A2. I'm copying the content of the object, whatever I have in the A1, I'm copying it to A2. So this process is what I will call it as a copy constructor, my dear students. For this reason, I will use the concept of copy constructor. Why? Because I'm copying the content from one object to another object. The copying of content from one object to another object is done only with the help of copy constructor in this program, my dear students. This is what you need to understand. Then after that, I am just trying to print the X value which I have in the A2 object, and then I will close my class, is what you need to understand. So hope you have understood all the 5 topics with just 2 programs, and I am giving you the assignment to write only one program which includes all the 5 topics, my dear students. Here onwards, all of you should learn to write only one program which includes all the concepts, whatever you have in the entire chapter which you are going to study in the coming chapters, is what I would like to ask you. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.